The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched before them like a metal cavern. Thousands of alien beings sat in curved rows that rose toward the ceiling, their strange eyes all focused on the small group of humans standing in the center of the room. The air smelled of metal and something sweet that made Hyun-Soo's nose twitch. Ambassador Hyun-Soo stood straight in his dark blue uniform. His hands stayed at his sides even though his heart beat fast in his chest. Next to him, Bo-Ra kept her face calm. She had trained for years to hide her feelings, but today felt different. Today felt dangerous. The Altarian Chancellor Vextar rose from his golden throne. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow under the bright lights. His forearms moved in smooth patterns as he spoke. His voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "Humans of Earth," Vextar said. His words came out slow and heavy. "You stand before this council charged with crimes against galactic peace." Hyun-Soo did not move. He had heard these words before in practice sessions back on Earth, but hearing them here, with thousands of alien eyes watching, made his skin feel cold. "Your species has shown brutal violence," Vextar continued. "When the Krillian raiders attacked your outer colonies, you did not ask for help. You did not try to talk. You killed them all." A low sound came from the watching aliens. Some made clicking noises. Others hissed. Hyun-Soo knew they were showing approval for the Chancellor's words. Bo-Ra stepped forward just a little. Her voice stayed steady when she spoke. "The Krillians attacked our people first. They killed families. They took children as slaves. We defended ourselves." "Defended?" The voice came from across the room. Quindal, the hegemony representative, stood up. Her body looked like a giant insect, but she wore rich purple robes. "You used weapons that turned their ships into dust. You left no survivors, not even ones who tried to run away." Hyun-Soo felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. "They gave our people no mercy. Why should we give them any?" The hall exploded with noise. Aliens screeched and howled. Some hit the floor with their feet or claws. Vextar raised all four arms and the noise stopped. "This is exactly the problem," Vextar said. "Your people think like animals. You answer violence with more violence. This is not how civilized beings act." "Civilized," Hyun-Soo repeated the word. "Tell me, Chancellor, how many of your people did the Krillians kill last year?" Vextar's blue skin got darker. "That is not the point." "It is the point," Bo-Ra said. "The Krillians have raided your worlds for decades. You file complaints, you hold meetings. You write strongly worded letters. Meanwhile, they keep killing and stealing." "We follow the proper ways," Quindal said. Her voice sounded like metal scraping stone. "We believe in justice, not revenge." Hyun-Soo almost laughed, but he stopped himself. "Your justice does not bring back dead children." The Chancellor's four hands made fists. "Your methods are too extreme. The Civilized Species Accord clearly states that retaliation must be proportional. You cannot destroy entire fleets for small raids." "Small raids?" Bo-Ra's voice got harder. "They killed 8,000 people on New Seoul. They burned entire cities on Busan Colony. You call this small?" "Compared to wiping out their entire species, yes," Vextar said. "The Krillians can no longer raid anyone. Your people hunted them down like animals. You followed them to their homeworld. You destroyed their cities, their ships, their ability to make war. This goes far beyond defense." Hyun-Soo looked around the great hall. Thousands of alien faces stared at him. Some looked angry, others looked afraid, a few looked curious, like they were watching an interesting show. "The Krillians chose to make war on humans," Hyun-Soo said. "We finished what they started. And this is why you stand trial today," Vextar said. He walked down from his throne. His steps echoed in the quiet hall. "The Galactic Council has decided. You will pay for your crimes." Bo-Ra's hand moved toward the weapon at her belt, but Hyun-Soo touched her arm to stop her. "What payment do you want?" Vextar smiled. His teeth looked sharp in the light. 3 of your colony worlds will be given to other species. New Seoul, Busan Colony, and Jeju Station will no longer belong to humans. Their people will be moved somewhere else. The words hit Hyun-soo like a punch to the stomach. Those worlds held millions of humans, families who had worked for generations to build new homes among the stars. You cannot be serious, Bora said. Very serious, Quindal said, as she moved closer. These worlds will serve as payment for your violence. The displaced populations will be relocated to less desirable systems. This will teach your people to think before they act. Hyun-soo felt something dark and cold settle in his chest. And if we refuse? Vextar's smile got wider. Then the combined fleets of the Galactic Council will enforce this decision. Your people can choose to leave peacefully or they can be removed by force. The hall stayed silent. Even the aliens seemed to hold their breath. Hyun-soo looked at the thousands of faces watching him. He saw confidence in their eyes. They believed humans would bow down and accept this judgment. I need time to discuss this with my government, Hyun-soo said finally. Of course, Vextar said. You have 72 hours. After that, we will begin moving our fleets into position around your colony worlds. Bora stepped closer to Hyun-soo. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures around the station. They have warships positioned all through this system. Hyun-soo nodded slightly. He had expected this. The council was not really giving them a choice. They were making a show of fairness while preparing for war. We will return with Earth's answer in 3 days, Hyun-soo said in a loud voice. Excellent, Vextar said. I do hope your people will see reason. War benefits no one. As the human delegation turned to leave, Hyun-soo heard quiet conversations starting among the aliens. They sounded pleased with themselves. Some even made what might have been laughing sounds. Bora walked close to Hyun-soo as they left the great hall. Her lips barely moved when she spoke. They think they have us trapped. They do have us trapped, Hyun-soo said quietly. But they do not understand what kind of animal they have cornered. The long corridors of the station stretched ahead of them. Alien guards watched from doorways and corners. Their weapons stayed visible, but not raised. Not yet. As they reached their shuttle, Bora looked back at the massive station. It hung in space like a metal city, home to representatives from hundreds of worlds. Sir, what do you think Earth will say? Hyun-soo was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the people on New Seoul, Busan Colony, and Jeju Station. He thought about the children playing in parks his own people had built. He thought about the farms and schools and hospitals that humans had created in the cold emptiness of space. Then he thought about the Krillians and what they had done to those same people. He remembered the reports, the pictures, the recordings of families crying for help that never came. I think, Hyun-soo said slowly, the council is about to learn something important about humans. What's that, sir? Hyun-soo looked at the stars through the shuttle window. Somewhere out there was Earth, and all the terrible power that sleeping world could wake up when its children were threatened. They are about to learn the difference between restraint and weakness. The shuttle's engines hummed to life. As they pulled away from the station, Bora began sending coded messages back to Earth. The messages were short and simple, but they would change everything. The council had made their choice. Now it was time for humanity to make theirs. The secure meeting room deep inside Earth's defense ministry had no windows. The walls were thick metal that blocked all signals from getting in or out. Around the long table sat the most powerful people in human space. Their faces looked grim, in the cold light. Fleet Admiral Tae-jin opened the folder in front of him. The papers inside contained reports that would make most people sick to their stomachs. The Council's demands are clear, he said. They want 3 of our most important colony worlds. They want to move millions of our people like they are moving furniture. President Sun-hee sat at the head of the table. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her dark eyes showed the weight of making choices for all humanity. How long do we have? 61 hours now, said Defense Minister Young-ho. He looked tired, like he had not slept in days. Our intelligence shows Council fleets moving into attack positions. They are not planning to wait for our answer. Dr. Yoon-ji cleared her throat. She was smaller than the others at the table, but When she spoke, everyone listened. Her job was to understand alien minds, to find their weak spots. I have studied the council races for 20 years. This ultimatum is not about justice or peace, it is about fear. Fear of what? President Sun Hee asked. Fear of us? Dr. Yoonji said simply. The Krillian campaign showed them something they did not expect. We did not just defend ourselves. We solved the Krillian problem completely and forever. No other species in the galaxy fights wars to actually win them. Admiral Tae-jin leaned forward. Explain that. Dr. Yoonji touched a button on the table. Pictures appeared on the wall screen behind her. They showed alien cities, alien ships, alien armies. Look at how they make war. The Altarians fight with ceremony and rules. The hegemony uses economic pressure and small raids. The Valdari have not fought a real war in 300 years. The pictures changed to show human military bases, factories, training grounds where soldiers learn to fight in ways that would make aliens run in terror. They fight like it is a game with rules, Dr. Yoonji continued. They expect their enemies to follow the same rules. When someone breaks a rule, they complain to judges and write official protests. They have forgotten what real war looks like. Captain Jun-woo spoke up from the corner of the room. His job was gathering intelligence that officially did not exist. The alien fleets are positioning themselves around our colonies, but they are doing it wrong. Wrong how? Young-ho asked. They are setting up like they expect a fair fight, Jun-woo said. They leave escape routes open. They keep their command ships far from danger. They follow battle plans that are hundreds of years old. President Sun Hee was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at each person around the table. Options? Admiral Tae-jin spoke first. We can evacuate the 3 colonies, move our people to other worlds, accept the Council's punishment and hope they leave us alone after that. That will not work, Dr. Yoonji said quickly. I have read their communications. This is just the beginning. If we give them 3 worlds, they will demand more next year. They want to break our spirit. What about negotiation? Young-ho asked. Can we offer them something else? They do not want our money or our technology, Captain Jun-woo said. They want to prove that humans can be controlled, that our victory over the Krillians was just luck. President Sun Hee turned to look at the wall screen. It now showed pictures of human families on the colony worlds, children playing in parks, farmers working in fields under alien suns, people who had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. Commander Mi-young, President Sun Hee said without turning around, is Project Ragnarok ready? A woman in a black uniform stepped out of the shadows near the door. Commander Mi-young never spoke in meetings unless asked directly. Her job was secrets that could end civilizations. Fully operational, Mi-young said. Her voice was soft but cold as winter. All systems tested and confirmed. We can begin implementation within 6 hours of authorization. Dr. Yoonji looked worried. Madam President, if we activate Ragnarok, there will be no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again. President Sun Hee finally turned around. Doctor, do they trust us now? The question hung in the air like smoke. Everyone in the room knew the answer. The Council had tried the Krillians in secret courts and found them guilty of raid and murder. But when humans had solved the problem permanently, suddenly there were new rules about proportional response. The Council species have never faced real extinction, President Sun Hee said slowly. They have fought wars where the loser gets to try again next century. They write peace treaties and trade agreements and gentlemen's accords because they have never met an enemy that wanted to end them completely. Admiral Tae-jin understood where this was going. And they think we are just like them. Exactly, President Sun Hee said. They think humans will follow their rules. They think we will accept unfair punishment because that is how civilized species act. They have no idea what we are really like when our families are threatened. Young-ho looked uncomfortable. Madam President, the casualties could be enormous. The Council has billions of people across hundreds of worlds. How many human children died on New Sol? President Sun Hee asked quietly. The room went silent. Everyone remembered the reports from that day. The schools that were bombed, the hospitals that were burned, the families that simply disappeared. Captain Junwoo pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. I have been monitoring Council communications for the past week. They are excited about this ultimatum. They think it will teach humanity proper respect for galactic law. The device projected holographic images into the air above the table. Alien leaders talking and laughing. Council representatives making bets about how quickly humans would surrender. They see us as young and stupid, Dr. Yoonji said as she watched the projections, like children who need to be taught a lesson. Commander Mi-young stepped closer to the table. The Ragnarok systems include psychological warfare protocols. We can make sure they understand exactly what kind of lesson they are really learning, isn't? Sun-hee sat down heavily in her chair. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like a mountain. She thought about human history, about all the times her people had been peaceful until someone pushed too far, about what happened to those who mistook kindness for weakness. How long would it take? She asked Mi-young. Complete neutralization of Council military capacity? 6 months. Complete collapse of their governments? 1 year. Complete lesson in why you do not threaten human civilians? They will remember for 1,000 years. Admiral Tae-jin looked around the table at his colleagues. These were good people who wanted peace. But they were also human, and humans had never forgiven those who hurt their children. The Council thinks we got lucky against the Krillians, he said. They think we found some advanced weapons and got overconfident. They have no idea that we held back. Dr. Yoonji nodded slowly. The Krillians were raiders and pirates. Dangerous, but not an existential threat. We fought them like humans fight. We used enough force to solve the problem permanently, but we did not use everything we had. And now? President Sun-hee asked. Now they are threatening to take our people from their homes, Dr. Yoonji said. They are threatening to break up families and destroy communities. In human psychology, this crosses every line that exists. Young-ho looked at the pictures still showing on the wall screen. Human families living their lives, not knowing that powerful aliens wanted to scatter them across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. Madam President, he said finally, I have served in 3 wars and helped negotiate peace treaties with 4 different species, but I have never seen a situation like this. The Council is not trying to make peace with us. They are trying to dominate us, Captain Junwoo nodded. Their communications make it clear. This ultimatum is designed to be impossible to accept. They want us to refuse so they can use military force. They think a quick victory over humanity will restore their reputation after our success against the Krillians. Commander Mi-young smiled, but it was not a happy expression. They are about to learn why evolution on a death world produces different kinds of warriors. President Sun-hee stood up slowly. She walked to the wall screen and touched one of the pictures. It showed a little girl playing with a dog in a park on Jeju Station. The girl looked happy and safe. The Council wants to see savagery? President Sun-hee said quietly. They want to know what humans do when we stop being civilized? She turned back to face the table. Her expression had changed. The worry was gone, replaced by something colder and more dangerous. Very well, she said. Commander Mi-young, begin implementation of Project Ragnarok. Admiral Tae-jin, prepare the fleets for total warfare. Dr. Yoonji, I want psychological profiles of every Council leader. Captain Junwoo, full intelligence, penetration of all Council systems. And our response to the ultimatum? Young-ho asked. President Sun-hee looked at each person around the table one more time. We will give them exactly what they asked for. A lesson in what humans are really like when you threaten our people. The meeting room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the air systems. Outside, humanity's vast industrial machine was already beginning to change. Factories that made civilian goods would soon make weapons. The Galactic Council chamber looked the same as it had 3 days before. The same curved rows of seats filled with alien representatives. The same golden throne where Chancellor Vextar sat waiting. The same bright lights that made everything look sharp and cold. But something felt different when Ambassador Hyun-soo walked into the center of the room. His steps echoed louder than before. The aliens seemed more restless in their seats. Even the air felt heavy with tension. This time, Hyun-soo was not alone. General Kyung-soo walked beside him, wearing the dark green uniform of Earth's military. Behind them came 6 soldiers in full combat gear. The council guards had wanted to search them, but diplomatic immunity meant the humans could bring their own protection. Bo-ra noticed things the others might miss. Her trained eyes saw how the alien guards held their weapons a little tighter, how some council members leaned forward in their seats eager to hear Earth's surrender, how others seemed nervous like they were starting to worry about what humans might do. Chancellor Vextar rose from his golden throne. His 4 arms spread wide in a gesture that was supposed to show welcome, but his pale blue face looked smug and satisfied. "Ambassador Hyun-soo," Vextar said in his booming voice, "have the humans of Earth made their decision?" Hyun-soo walked to the center of the room and stopped. He did not bow or show any sign of respect. When he spoke, his voice carried to every corner of the Great Hall. "The Earth Federation has carefully considered the Council's ultimatum," he said. "We have discussed your demands with our government, our military leaders, and our people." The hall went completely quiet. Thousands of alien eyes focused on the small group of humans. Many of the council members looked pleased, expecting to hear about human surrender and the peaceful transfer of 3 colony worlds. "And our answer is this," Hyun-soo continued. "The Earth Federation rejects your demands completely and absolutely. We will not surrender our colonies. We will not relocate our people. We will not accept punishment for defending ourselves against raiders and murderers." A wave of shocked sounds swept through the chamber. Some aliens screeched in anger. Others made clicking noises of disbelief. A few began shouting in languages that sounded like metal being torn apart. Vextar raised all 4 arms, and the noise slowly died down. His blue skin had turned darker, showing his rage. "This is most unfortunate. The Council hoped humanity would show wisdom and accept a peaceful resolution." General Kyung-soo stepped forward. His face showed no emotion, but his hand rested on the weapon at his belt. "There is nothing peaceful about stealing our worlds and scattering our people like dust in space." Quindal rose from her seat across the room. Her insect-like body trembled with what might have been excitement or anger. "Then you choose war, humans. You choose to fight the combined might of 400 worlds." "No," Hyun-soo said calmly. "You chose war when you decided to punish us for defending our people. We are simply responding to your choice." Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Responding? With what? Your people have perhaps 50 warships. The Council commands 10,000. You have 3 small colonies to defend. We have the entire galaxy behind us." Bora smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a pleasant expression. "Chancellor, you seem to have misunderstood something important." "And what is that?" Vextar asked. "You think this is about defending our colonies," Bora said. "It is not. This is about teaching the galaxy what happens when you threaten human families." The alien representatives began talking among themselves in worried voices. Something about the humans' confidence was making them nervous. They had expected fear and desperate pleading, not calm statements about teaching lessons. General Kyung-soo pulled a small device from his belt and placed it on the floor. It projected a holographic image of the space around Nexus Prime Station. Red dots showed the positions of Council warships, forming a defensive sphere around the massive structure. "You have 47 ships guarding this station," Kyung-soo said conversationally. 12 heavy cruisers, 28 destroyers, and 7 dreadnoughts. Very impressive. Vextar looked confused. "You counted our ships? So what? You cannot hope to fight through such a force." "Fight through?" Hyun-soo repeated. "General, show them." Kyung-soo touched the device. The holographic display changed, zooming out to show a much larger area around the station. New blue dots appeared on the image scattered throughout the system. At first there were only a few blue dots. Then more appeared. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The display kept expanding as more and more blue dots filled the space around Nexus Prime. "What is this?" Quindal demanded, her voice now showing fear instead of anger. Lieutenant Sang-min, one of the 6 soldiers behind Hyun-soo, spoke for the first time. Those are human ships, ma'am. We did not come here to fight through your defenses. We came here to demonstrate why fighting us is a very bad idea. The chamber erupted in chaos. Alien voices shouted questions and demands. Some council members stood up, pointing at the humans with claws and tentacles. Others seemed frozen in their seats, staring at the holographic display that showed their supposedly secure station surrounded by an entire human fleet. Impossible! Vextar roared. Our sensors would have detected such a large force. Bora shrugged. Your sensors are designed to watch for the kind of ships your people build. Large, slow, and easy to spot. Human ships are different. How many? Quindal asked in a whisper. General Kyung-soo looked at the display and seemed to count the blue dots. In this system, about 800 combat vessels, but that is just the beginning. He touched the device again. The holographic view expanded even more, showing dozens of star systems around Nexus Prime. In each system, more blue dots appeared. Hundreds of them, then thousands. The full strength of the Earth Defense Fleet, Kyung-soo said calmly. Plus, our allies from the colony worlds, plus some new friends who decided they like humans better than they like the Council. The noise in the chamber died down to shocked silence. Even the alien guards looked worried, whispering among themselves and checking their weapons. Hyun-soo walked closer to Vextar's throne. You wanted to know what kind of people humans are. You wanted to see how we respond to threats against our families. You wanted to teach us a lesson about respecting galactic law. Vextar seemed to shrink back in his golden chair. This is madness. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. We are not fighting the entire galaxy, Hyun-soo said. We are fighting you. The bullies and cowards who hide behind laws they wrote to protect themselves. The weak species who ganged up on humanity. Because you were afraid of what we might become. Lieutenant Sang-min touched something on his armor. All around the great chamber, small lights began blinking on the walls, in the ceiling, even on some of the alien representatives' chairs. What are those? Someone shouted. Surveillance devices, Sang-min said cheerfully. We have been mapping this station for 3 days. We know where every power cable runs, where every life support system connects, where every weapon is stored. We know which sections have the most important people and which ones are just for show. Bora pulled out her own device. We also know about the secret council fleet hidden in the Vortex Nebula, the one you thought humans could not detect, and the backup government bunkers on Altair Prime, and the emergency evacuation protocols for council leadership. How? Quindal demanded. Because while you were having meetings and making speeches, human intelligence officers were doing their jobs, Bora said. Did you really think we would come here unprepared? General Kyung-soo looked at his watch. Ambassador, we should move to the final phase. Hyun-soo nodded. He looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him. Many now showed fear, instead of anger. Some were already trying to leave their seats, but the chamber doors had been sealed. The Earth Federation has prepared a new set of terms, Hyun-soo announced. Since you like ultimatums so much, we decided to give you one of your own. The holographic display changed again. Now it showed star charts of council space. Red zones marked the locations of major alien worlds, trade routes, and military bases. You have 24 hours to withdraw all council forces from human space, Hyun-soo said. You will also pay reparations for the costs of this military deployment, and you will formally apologize to the families who died in the Krillian raids while you did nothing. Vextar found his voice again. And if we refuse? Hyun-soo looked at him with cold eyes. Then you will learn why every predator species on Earth learned to fear the humans. You will discover what our ancestors did to survive ice ages, plagues, and wars with each other. You will understand why we are the only species in known space that solved a raider problem by making the raiders extinct. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the guards had stopped moving. You see, Hyun-soo continued, you made one terrible mistake in your calculations. You thought human restraint meant human weakness. You thought our desire for peace meant we did not know how to make war. He gestured to the holographic display showing human ships throughout council space. This is us being restrained. This is us trying to solve this problem peacefully. If you force us to stop being restrained, you will not like what happens next. General Kyung-soo checked his watch again. 18 hours, 53 minutes remaining. 6 months after the war began, Ambassador Hyun-soo walked into the Galactic Council chamber once again. But everything had changed since his last visit. The golden throne where Chancellor Vex-Tar once sat was empty. Many of the seats that had held proud alien representatives now stood vacant, their owners either dead, in hiding, or fled to distant systems. The great hall that had once echoed with the voices of hundreds of species now held only a few dozen survivors. They sat in the lower rows, no longer looking down at humans from positions of power. Their eyes showed fear and defeat, the expressions of beings who had learned too late what humans were really capable of. President Sun Hee entered the chamber behind Hyun-soo, accompanied by Admiral Tae-jin and General Kyung-soo. The click of their boots on the metal floor sounded loud in the quiet space. They did not come as supplicants begging for mercy. They came as conquerors deciding the fate of the defeated. The few surviving council members shifted nervously in their seats. Vex-Tar was there, but his blue skin looked pale and sickly. His forearms trembled when he tried to gesture. The proud chancellor who had once demanded human worlds now looked like a broken old alien, waiting for judgment. Quindal sat hunched in her purple robes, her insect-like eyes fixed on the floor. The hegemony representative who had helped plan humanity's humiliation could not bring herself to look at the humans directly. Her species had lost 40% of their fleet and most of their colonial empire in the war. President Sun Hee walked to the center of the chamber and stopped where human diplomats had once stood as defendants. Now the roles were reversed, and the aliens waited to hear their sentence. Members of the former Galactic Council, President Sun Hee said. Her voice carried easily through the mostly empty hall. You called us here 6 months ago to face charges for defending our people. Today we return to discuss your future. Dr. Yoonji stood near the wall watching the aliens' reactions with professional interest. Her psychological profiles had predicted this moment perfectly. When faced with total defeat, the Council species had collapsed into fear and desperation. Their proud civilizations had proven fragile when confronted with real consequences. The Earth Federation has spent considerable time deciding what to do with you, President Sun Hee continued. Some of our leaders wanted to finish what you started, to solve the Council problem the same way we solved the Krillian problem. Several aliens made small sounds of terror. They had heard what happened to species that made humans angry enough to seek permanent solutions. General Kyung-soo stepped forward. Our military analysis shows that complete pacification of former Council space would take approximately 1 year. All resistance could be eliminated, all hostile governments removed, all threats to human security ended forever. The remaining aliens looked like they might faint. Vex-Tar's forearms wrapped around himself as if trying to become smaller and less noticeable. However, Admiral Tae-jin said, President Sun Hee believes that extinction should be reserved for species that cannot learn from their mistakes. The question before us today is whether you have learned anything from yours. President Sun Hee looked around the chamber at the frightened faces staring back at her. These were the representatives of civilizations that had once ruled hundreds of worlds. Now they sat powerless, waiting to discover if humans would let them continue to exist. What have you learned? President Sun Hee asked. The question hung in the air for a long moment. Finally, Vex-Tar found his voice. It came out as barely more than a whisper. We learned that we were wrong about humans, he said. We thought your victory over the Krillians was luck. We thought you were young and weak and could be easily controlled. And now? Hyun-soo asked. Now we know that you were showing mercy, Quindal said without looking up. When you destroyed the Krillian fleet, you could have done the same to us. But you chose diplomacy instead. We mistook your kindness for weakness. Dr. Yoonji made notes on her tablet. The psychological breakdown was proceeding exactly as her models had predicted. Beings who had lived their entire lives believing in their own superiority could not handle the reality of total defeat. You demanded our colony worlds, Admiral Tae-jin said. You wanted to relocate millions of human families to teach us respect for your authority. Do you still believe that was justice? No, Vextar said, his voice barely audible. It was cruelty disguised as law. We wrote rules to protect ourselves and called them justice. We punished you for succeeding where we had failed. President Sun He nodded slowly. At least you understand. That much. But understanding your mistakes is not enough. You must also accept the consequences, she gestured, and Commander Mi Young stepped out of the shadows near the door. The alien survivors recognized her from intelligence reports, the human officer who had directed their civilization's systematic destruction. Her presence made them shrink back in their seats. The Ragnarok protocol is still active, Commander Mi Young said calmly. Human monitoring stations now watch every system in former council space, every ship that moves, every message that is sent, every government decision that is made. We see it all. The implications were clear. The aliens no longer had privacy, no longer had secrets, no longer had the ability to threaten anyone without human knowledge and permission. Your military forces have been reduced to system defense only, General Kyung-soo added. No more fleets capable of attacking other worlds. No more weapons that could threaten human colonies. No more ability to wage war beyond your own solar systems. Captain Jun Woo appeared beside the general, carrying a tablet that displayed the current status of alien military capability. The numbers were devastating. 90% reduction in ships, complete loss of advanced weapons, total dependence on human-controlled trade routes for essential supplies. But we are not conquerors, President Sun He said. We do not want to rule your worlds or control your governments. We want something much simpler. What? Quindal asked, finally looking up at the human president. We want you to remember this lesson, President Sun He said. We want your children and your children's children to know what happened when someone threatened human families. We want the galaxy to understand that humans are not aggressive by nature, but we are absolutely deadly when provoked. Dr. Yunji stepped forward. Psychological monitoring indicates that fear-based compliance will be effective for approximately 50 years. After that, new generations may forget the lessons learned here today. Which is why we are establishing permanent human presence in this region of space, Admiral Taejin announced, not as occupiers but as observers, to make sure that what happened here is never forgotten. The holographic display activated, showing star maps of the galaxy. Blue dots marked human territories, which now included monitoring stations throughout former council space. Red dots showed the locations where alien governments would be allowed to continue operating under human oversight. This is the new reality, President Sun He said. You are free to govern yourselves, to trade with each other, to live your lives as you choose. But you will do so knowing that humans are watching, and if you ever again decide to threaten our people, there will be no warnings, no ultimatums, no second chances. Commander Mi Young smiled her cold smile. The next species that attacks human civilians will simply cease to exist. No negotiations, no trials, no appeals to galactic law. We will solve the problem permanently and completely. The chamber was completely silent except for the sound of aliens breathing heavily. The weight of their defeat, of their complete dependence on human mercy, seemed to press down on them like a physical force. Do you accept these terms? President Sun He asked. The response came as a chorus of frightened voices agreeing to everything, promising cooperation, begging for forgiveness. The proud species that had once demanded human submission now groveled before the humans they had tried to humiliate. Vextar raised one trembling hand. What about the families on your colony worlds? The ones we threatened to relocate? President. Sun He looked at him for a long moment. They are exactly where they have always been, living their lives, raising their children, building communities among the stars. The only difference is that now they know the galaxy understands what happens to anyone who threatens them. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Hyun-soo turned, back to address the defeated aliens one final time. You wanted to know what humans are really like, he said. You wanted to see how we respond when pushed too far. Now you know. We are a species that survived ice ages by outlasting them, survived plagues by adapting to them, and survived wars by winning them so completely that our enemies could never threaten us again. General Kyung-soo added, "Remember this when you write your histories. Remember this when you teach your children about the galaxy. Humans did not seek this war, but once you forced it upon us, we fought it the only way we know how. To win," Admiral Tae-jin finished. President Soon-hee looked around the chamber one last time, at the empty seats where proud alien representatives once sat, at the broken survivors who now understood the true cost of threatening humanity, at the holographic displays showing human ships watching over every corner of their former empire. The Council's answer came in the form of weapons fire. 12 hours after the human ultimatum, Altarian battlecruisers opened fire on a human patrol ship near the border of Council space. The small vessel, carrying only a crew of 30, was destroyed in seconds. The Council sent a message with the wreckage. Humans will learn to respect galactic law. Admiral Tae-jin received the news in his command center aboard the Earth Fleet flagship. He looked at the report for a long moment, then handed it to Captain Haiwan, who stood beside him. 30 good people, Haiwan said quietly. They murdered 30 people to make a point. Yes, Admiral Tae-jin said. Now we make ours. The signal went out across human space in code that took only seconds to decode. 3 simple words that changed everything. The gloves are off. On ships scattered throughout the galaxy, human officers opened sealed orders they had been carrying for months. Soldiers checked weapons that had never been fired in anger. Engineers activated systems that most of the galaxy did not know existed. Dr. Hyunji sat in her laboratory deep inside Earth's intelligence headquarters. Around her, screen showed the faces of alien leaders as they received reports of what was happening to their fleets. Their expressions changed from confidence to confusion to terror in the space of hours. The Altarians are requesting immediate ceasefire, her assistant said. Their third fleet is gone, just gone, no wreckage, no survivors, no trace. What about the hegemony? Dr. Yunji asked. They lost contact with their border stations 4 hours ago. When they sent ships to investigate, those ships never reported back either. Dr. Yunji smiled as she watched alien faces on her screens. They are starting to understand, but it is too late now. Commander Do-hyun's Psychological Warfare Division had been working for years on a project they called Fear Protocol. The idea was simple: make the enemy so afraid that they would defeat themselves. What they had discovered was that alien minds, used to centuries of civilized warfare, broke much more easily than human minds. Broadcasting on all council frequencies, Do-hyun reported from his command ship. Every alien in their space is now watching their fleets disappear in real time. No warnings, no declarations, no chances to surrender, just like they gave our patrol ship. The broadcasts showed something the galaxy had never seen before. Human warships moved through space like ghosts, appearing from nowhere to destroy alien vessels before vanishing again. But these were not the ships the Council expected to see. Fleet Captain Haiwan commanded the strike group hitting Altarian space. Her ships were sleek and dark, built for speed and stealth rather than the massive displays of power that aliens preferred. They struck like lightning and disappeared before the enemy could respond. Target the supply convoys first, she ordered, her captains. Cut off their fuel, their food, their replacement parts, make them afraid to leave their home systems. The Altarians had built their fleet for impressive-looking battles between equal opponents. Their ships were big and golden, designed to inspire fear in enemies who fought by the same rules they did. Against humans who ignored those rules completely, the golden ships became golden coffins. Major Su-jin led ground operations on planets where the Council had military bases. Her soldiers moved at night, striking targets that aliens thought were safe. Communication centers went dark. Weapon factories exploded. Important officials simply disappeared, leaving only messages that suggested they might want to reconsider their support for the war. They build their cities like museums, Su-jin reported, after taking control of an entire hegemony military complex. Pretty to look at, but no defenses that work against real soldiers. Their guards had never seen combat before. Most of them ran away when they saw us coming. What terrified the aliens most was how easily humans adapted to their technology. Engineer Wanshik led teams that turned alien defensive systems against their own people. Planetary shields became weapons. Communication networks became spy tools. Even their own ships were turned into bombs that destroyed entire fleets. The Valdari are asking how we hacked their quantum-encrypted systems, Wanshik reported with satisfaction. I did not have the heart to tell them that their impossible-to-break codes took our computers about 30 seconds to crack. But perhaps the most frightening human innovation was Captain Jinneh's Experimental Warfare Division. Her job was to create weapons that would serve as warnings to future enemies. The galaxy needed to understand that threatening humans was not just dangerous, it was a form of suicide. The hegemony's capital system is cut off, Jinneh reported. Their sun is now surrounded by devices that can turn it into a supernova with the push of a button. They have about 1 million years to decide if they want to keep fighting us. The psychological effect was exactly what Dr. Yunji had predicted. Alien leaders who had started the war with confidence now jumped at shadows. Every ship that went missing, every base that went dark, every official who failed to report in made them more afraid. The Altarian Chancellor is requesting terms, Du-hyun reported. He wants to negotiate a ceasefire. What did Admiral Tae-jin tell him? Dr. Yunji asked. The Admiral asked him how many humans were on that patrol ship they destroyed. And when the Chancellor said 30, the Admiral told him that we would accept his surrender after 30 Altarian fleets had been destroyed. They have lost 12 so far. The war, if it could even be called a war, lasted 6 months. It was not a conflict between equals, but a demonstration of what happened when a species that had evolved to survive on a death world decided to stop pretending to be civilized. Human fleets appeared in every corner of Council space. They did not conquer planets or occupy territory. Instead, they systematically destroyed the Council's ability to make war. Shipyards became scrap metal. Military academies became empty buildings. Entire fleets simply vanished, leaving no trace, except fear. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for the kind of warfare they understood. Formal battles between fleets that followed ancient rules of engagement. They had no answer for enemies who struck from shadows and disappeared before retaliation was possible. The hegemony lost another supply convoy, Captain Haewon reported during one of the weekly briefings. That makes 47 in the past month. They are running out of fuel for their ships. What about the Valdari? Admiral Tae-jin asked. They officially withdrew from the war yesterday, Commander Do-hyun said. Their government fell when their people learned that humans had been walking around inside their most secure facilities for weeks without being detected. Dr. Yunji studied the latest intelligence reports. The remaining Council species are starting to blame each other for starting the war. The Altarians are saying the hegemony forced them into it. The hegemony claims they were manipulated by other species. Good, Admiral Tae-jin said. Fear makes people selfish. When they are more afraid of us than they are loyal to each other, the war is over. The end came not with a great battle, but with a simple message. The surviving Council leaders, meeting in secret on a hidden base, received a communication from Admiral Tae-jin. It contained no threats, no demands, no ultimatums. Just a list. The list contained the names, locations, and daily schedules of every important alien leader in Council space. It included their families, their friends, their favorite restaurants, and the times they liked to take walks in their gardens. It showed that humans knew everything about them, could reach them anywhere, and had chosen not to kill them. Yet, the message is clear, Dr. Yunji explained to her staff. We could have ended this war in a day by simply killing everyone in charge. Instead, we chose to destroy their military and leave them alive to think about their mistakes. The psychological effect was devastating. Alien leaders who had thought themselves safe in bunkers deep underground realized that humans had been watching them sleep. Officials who trusted their best security systems discovered that humans had been reading their private messages for months. It is the ultimate power move, Commander Do-hyun said with admiration. We are telling them that we let them live not because we had to, but because we chose to. Within weeks, the remaining Council fleets began surrendering, not to human forces, but to each other, hoping that cooperation might save them from the fate of the Krillians. Alien worlds that had supported the war suddenly discovered pressing reasons to stay neutral. The galaxy learned a lesson that would not be forgotten for centuries. Humans were not just another species to be pushed around by larger, older civilizations. They were something new and dangerous, a race that had evolved to survive anything the universe could throw at them. And now the universe included other species that made the mistake of threatening human families. Status report, Admiral Taejin requested as he prepared for the final phase of the operation. All Council military forces in human space have withdrawn or been destroyed, Captain Haewon reported. Their remaining fleets are scattered and afraid to move. Most of their leaders are in hiding. Casualties on our side? Minimal. We lost the patrol ship at the beginning, and 3 soldiers in ground operations. The aliens never really learned how to fight us. Admiral Taejin nodded. The Council had made their choice when they decided to answer diplomacy with murder.